It's Christmas time again. Your favorite shoe cookies. It's the season of love where miracles happen.
Welcome to December 24th. We have arrived. In Denmark, where I am, this is Christmas, and tonight we are going to stuff ourselves and get a bellyache. But before we get that far, we are going to listen to The Delightful Encounter Part 3 and wrap up both this beautiful story and tribute to the sun, but also the entire Christmas calendar. And I thank you deeply from the bottom of my heart for following me through this journey. Okay, let's hear the rest of the story. Who, me? Dio was puzzled. Yes, you and all your friends on this planet. All 8 billion, if I'm counting correctly. They're not all my friends, Dio said. I don't know more than a small percentage, at most. Really? The sunling looked baffled. Don't you share the same collective awareness? Feet, form, heartbeat, desires, water, air, resources in general, hope, atmosphere, gravity? Dio could see where this went. In a sense, the head of the sunlings was right again. As inhabitants of Earth, they all shared the same planet. They shared the resources. They shared fate, right? Everybody was a part of the ecosystem, and everybody was linked to each other in this life, in the history of the planet, and even sharing the future through the actions and choices of today, handed over to future generations. The head sunling followed Dio's line of thoughts with great enthusiasm. Yes, you do see, which is why we are inviting you to join us for a brief visit in our realm, the sun and surroundings. Dio instantly was back in the present reality. You what? Well, we mean business this time, and we wanted to take the most important member of the human society on a trip to our realms, to exchange information and experiences. We are certain that if we expand our collaboration and start networking as cosmic citizens, we'll come up with a lot of fun ideas. Plus, we get to visit and form more often, and laugh, and feel joy, and love. There was too much information in his words for Dio to understand at once. Why would you think that I'm the most important member of the human society? Well, we're not just one society, there are many. Some have kings, and some have presidents. I'm just a regular resident. Really? The head of the sunling looked at Dio. A slight muttering in the crowd let him know that they were following the conversation with great interest. But isn't your name Dio? Dio nodded. And doesn't that translate into God in your old language? Oh, well, yeah, but Dio smiled within and didn't quite know how to explain. And just a simple question, the leader continued. Aren't you the most important human being in your life? If you weren't present in your own life, what good would it do you then? Again, Dio understood his line of thoughts, and yes, in that light he would consider himself a very important person in his own life. And yes, if not the god of his own life, then important for sure. Who is creating your life? The leader continued. Who's deciding what you wear and what you do? Well, okay. Dio surrendered and nodded again. To a large degree, yes, I do. You see, Creator, God, let's move on. And that ended that conversation. His heart was pounding immensely as he took the first step onto the golden bridge. What is happening? But he was fine. His feet moved forward. No stress, no pain, no panic. Try ignoring your body for a second, the sunling said. We are so used to going in and out of form that we don't give it much thought, but for you it's different. You only experience non-form in your sleep, and even there most human beings are oblivious of the possibilities. Dio relaxed his breathing and let go of his perception of form gradually. As he moved forward, he felt the dense structure of his body dissolving. He couldn't feel his feet anymore, but he still felt like he was the one walking forward. He stopped feeling his heartbeat in the body, But he still felt his heartbeat at a different level. He thought that he'd panic as the air got thinner around him, but he slowly stopped using his lungs to breathe. All the way he stayed aware of himself and his form, but the experience of form disappeared. Soon he was in dark space with his fellow non-form beings. The only source of light was the approaching sun, huge, warm, fierce, and extremely powerful. He didn't dare to look around for his new friends, but he still sensed that they were there. The party had loosened up even more as they left form. There was an intense and uplifting sensation in the non-air. Optimism, joy, enthusiasm, spirit or exaltation. Instead of hearable laughter as it had been on earth, this was ripples in the space around him. But still very powerful ripples. Dio couldn't quite define it, but it was high, vibrant and intense, abundant. He felt at ease, assured. I am a human being. I am a human being. I am a being. I am being. I be. He woke up. The water had reached his feet. A few more inches and the tide waves would have kidnapped his backpack. What was that? He sat straight up, completely bewildered. It was only a dream? He looked around. Other people on the beach were doing their habitual doings, being their habitual beings. Some were gathering their stuff, ready to go home after spending the day out here. Some had just arrived, ready to spend their evening in the spectacular company of the setting sun. Nothing seemed to be different. Nothing had changed. So, it was just a dream. He realized that he felt disappointed. Even though he had to admit the whole scenario had seemed pretty out there. Nevertheless, it would have been a beautiful and required upgrade of humans had his dream taken place in real life. He gazed at the ocean. No, there was no trace of the Golden Bridge or the sunlings walking towards him. He looked at the sun. He tried to recall the sensation of being inside the sun with no form but pure awareness. No, it was already a vague memory, he thought. There were no visible traces of his encounter with the sunlings and his visit to the sun. Everything looked normal. Well, it did make quite an impact on me, he thought. It changed me, and I'm going to cherish that. It felt good, and I felt uplifted. Dream or no dream, I'm changed. I'm happier. I'm lighter and more at ease. I know myself better. He smiled at this thought. How can I know myself better just from a dream? Oh my, I'll have to go slow with all these questions and just revel in the feel of it all for now. Yeah, think about it later. Good plan. But everything else had changed too. Dio would realize that soon enough. As the sun set behind him, people watching were noticing that it was shining with more intense impact than usually when setting. Some even said that the rays of the disappearing sunlight were smiling at them with the promise of an even brighter tomorrow. The end. And let's have that. The pure intention of an even brighter tomorrow. Bye for now.